Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. I am your host as always. Today we're diving into the story of one of his most iconic figure, Napoleon Bonaparte. When you think of Napoleon, you might picture a short guy with a big hat, but trust me, there is way more of his story than this. Napoleon wasn't just a military genius, he was a man who changed the politics and the social fabric of Europe and even the world forever. So let's rewind the clock and explore how this Corsican-born guy became one of the greatest leaders in history. Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769, on the island of Corsica, which at the time was under French control. He wasn't exactly born royalty. His family wasn't rich by any means. But from a young age, Napoleon had big dreams. He wasn't content with staying on his little island. His mind was set on something much larger. He wanted to change the world. At 16, Napoleon left Corsica to study at military school in France, and soon after, he joined the French army as an artillery officer. But it wasn't just his rank that set him apart, it was his incredible strategic mind. Napoleon wasn't just following order, he was thinking 5 steps ahead of everyone else, and it didn't take long for people to notice. Then boom, the French Revolution kicked off in 1789, throwing everything into chaos. And this was a turning point for Napoleon, as France was torn apart by political and social unrest. Napoleon saw opportunity to rise, and rise he did. By 1796, he was put in charge of the French army in Italy, and it was here that he began to make a name for himself. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Napoleon pulled off victory after victory. His ability to think on his feet and adapt his tactic was unmatched. In 1804, Napoleon had claimed to the top, crowning himself Emperor of France. This was his way to saying, I'm in charge now. But it wasn't just about power, it was about reform. Napoleon wasn't just a conqueror, he was a lawmaker, a visionary. He introduced the Napoleon Code, a set of civil law that are still used in many parts of the world today. He modernized France, set up public education system, and even reformed the economy. And of course, he didn't stop there. Why would he? He went on to expand the French Empire across Europe, from Spain to Russia. Most of the Europe was either under his control or heavily influenced by him. But here's a twist in this story. Napoleon's ambition got the best of him. In 1812, he made one of the biggest mistakes of his career, invading Russia. Now, this was a massive strategy blunder. Napoleon's army, which numbered over 600,000 men, marched towards Moscow. But they weren't prepared for what awaited them, a brutal Russian winter and scorched earth strategy by the Russians. By the time Napoleon's troops finally reached Moscow, it was a ghost town, and they were starving and freezing. The result? A total disaster. Only a fraction of his army made it back. And that, my friends, was the beginning of the end for the Napoleon. After the Russian campaign, other European nations saw their chance and came together to fight Napoleon. 2 years after, in 1814, they finally managed to defeat him, and he was forced to abdicate. Napoleon was exiled into the island of Elba. But of course, this wasn't the end of his story. Napoleon wasn't the type to just fade into obscurity. In 1815, 1 year after that, he made an unexpected return to France, launching what became known as the 100 Days. But his comeback was short-lived. Just a few months later, Napoleon was defeated once again at the Battle of Waterloo. This time, his reign was truly over. He was exiled one more time, and this time to the remote island of St. Helena, where he would spend the last year of his life before passing away in 1821. Napoleon's story is one of the most incredible triumphs and a devastating failure. He reshaped Europe, built one of the most powerful empires in history, and left a legacy that continues to influence us today. The Napoleonic Code and his reform in government, law, and education led the groundwork for many modern systems. But his downfall also serves as a cautionary tale about the danger of unchecked ambitions. Napoleon was a man who changed the world forever, for better or worse. His story isn't just about battles or empires, it's about vision, power, and the human desire to leave a lasting legacy. And even now, centuries later, his name still echoes through the halls of history as one of the greatest and the most controversial figure ever. And that's the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who went from a young artillery officer to Empire of France, conquered much of the Europe, and ultimately met his life in exile. He's a reminder that with great powers come great responsibility. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we recorded. If you want to know more, feel free to reach out and share your thoughts. This was our second episode. Our first episode, which was the last one, was about Alexander the Great. If you want to know and enjoy, and if you like the podcast, you can go and listen to it. Hope you enjoy it. And alongside it, hope you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep dreaming big and keep pushing forward. See you on the next one.